Greetings everyone. Hope all of you are having an absolutely fantastic day. As I mentioned about an hour ago, Owlcat does have a presence at Gamecoms. They released a trailer for The Expanse Osiris Reborn, so if you haven't checked out my video from earlier today covering that release, I would definitely recommend you do so. In addition to that, they have released a horde of new screenshots for Warhammer 40K Dark Heresy. Now, let me say up front, these screenshots are not coupled with additional information, so I can't give you any release dates or anything of that sort. However, there is some interesting tidbits that I can see in some of these screenshots, and I feel like some of you might pick up on some information that I missed, so I thought it'd still be worth us going through them to see what we can figure out. With all that being said, let's get into it. So the first screenshot I want to cover is actually the character sheet, and this is showing one of our party members, Cog. I will have a video or maybe even a series of videos going through all the different party members in the game. But if you've played through Rogue Trader, obviously this is going to be a very familiar screen for you. But they have made a couple of changes. So instead of the skills being down at the bottom, they have moved the skills to a completely different tab, which I think is probably a step in the right direction and helps to make people not feel as overwhelmed with all the numbers and information jumping out at them. There's also a totally separate tab for offense, and I'm really curious about that. I felt like there was some stats that would have been useful to know in Rogue Trader that the game never directly tells you, and so I'm kind of curious to see if that's changed in Dark Heresy. In addition, you can see over on the right there's a list of different weapons and armor that you could potentially equip on Cog. So I can see a melter gun, this looks like a plasma pistol, this might be a heavy bolter weapon. I wonder if you get heavy weapons right up front, because he's level 0 in Rogue Trader. It took a while before heavy weapons started coming your way, especially if you weren't heretical, so it'd be nice to kind of get them up front. Not sure what the wrench is about. Maybe that's something that they use like a lock picking tool. Heavy hammer, all of this stuff was very prevalent in Rogue Trader. We did not have a chainsaw or a gun that looked exactly like this, but I feel like we had guns that served a similar function. So it'll be interesting to see how this actually works. That looks like a boot similar to what he's already wearing. No idea what this is supposed to be. I guess maybe just a backpack. Oh, so maybe it's supposed to be like one of those backpacks or capes that we would have been able to equip in Rogue Trader. Keep in mind, there's a note in the lower left that this is all development footage, so they may change how all of this looks and completely redo some of this, but for now it looks very similar to what we experienced in Rogue Trader. Now, what is very interesting, if you go up to the top here, there's an option that says reputation, and we know that even though we're going to be a part of the Inquisition in this game is kind of broken up into 3 different groups who all focus on different things. And so I wonder if we're going to gain reputation or lose reputation with different parts of the Inquisition based on how we do things. That would be interesting. And then also, investigations are going to be a massive part of the experience. It kind of seems like the investigations we're going to track are what's going to serve as the major mechanic system. So we had Crusade management before and Kingdom management, and then in Rogue Trader you had the colonies that you had to manage, and it seems like in Dark Heresy, investigations is going to be that main management system we're going to deal with. That sounds very interesting and exciting to me, so I'm really looking forward to how it's implemented. Hopefully they knock that out of the park. All right, next up, another screenshot that should be very familiar with many of you. This is some combat in Dark Heresy. Again, very similar to what we saw in Rogue Trader. The turn order has moved from the left side of the screen. Looks like it's all the way up at the top. And in a nice touch, seems like they did a better job of placing the buffs and debuffs that a character is experiencing actually on the portrait. So in Rogue Trader, you kind of had to hover on the portrait, and then a separate slide would come up showing you what buffs and debuffs they had. But it looks like you should be able to, at a glance, tell at least some of the statuses that a particular character is experiencing. These characters right here are clearly your character and party members that have already been advertised. I don't know who this character over on the left is, so that might be a temporary character, or perhaps a party member who has not been announced as of yet. If we look down at the bottom, it seems like our main character is a psyker who is able to use pyro abilities, and it seems like they have some executioner abilities as well. Again, we don't have any information as to what archetypes are going to be available, so maybe executioner is an option, maybe it's not. I absolutely would expect that psyker abilities are going to be on the table and something we can use, but it might only be available as an archetype as opposed to an origin, which is the way it worked in Rogue Trader. All right, and then for the next screenshot, once again sticking with combat, this is interesting. Seems like some characters will have an ability that allows them to focus in on enemies and target specific parts of their body, which is something you were not able to do in Rogue Trader. So we know this character is Hamar Davos, and he's actually a member, not only is he an acolyte of the Inquisition, but he's also part of the Astra Militarum. And if we look at his hotbar here, it seems like he has both soldier and arch militant abilities available to him, and he's using some sort of ranged weapon to potentially target this creature's head. And we also get a bunch of information regarding their vitals. So very, very cool stuff. Looking forward to how that system might potentially work. It might make snipers even more deadly than they were in Rogue Trader. Those are the screenshots that I felt like had details which immediately jumped out at me. I will put up the rest of the screenshots in this video as I kind of talk through a couple of things, but you all already know I'm really excited for this game. I absolutely love Rogue Trader. I'm still doing content on that freaking game to this very day. Really looking forward to the expansions that are coming out for it next year. And my expectation is I'm gonna dive into Dark Heresy that exact same way. It should be a really interesting experience to learn more about the Inquisition and to play as someone who is either loyal or perhaps not so loyal to its tenets and the Emperor overall. I love the fact that they're going to be leaning into investigations. Doing investigations and mysteries in a video game is actually something I very consistently really enjoy, and I think it's an area that Owlcat could be absolutely phenomenal at, considering how great their writing is. And so I'm hoping that I really get out of these investigations what I'm looking for. I want ones where you can actually fail. I want ones where there are multiple ways that these investigations could end, and based on your willingness to really dig in and uncover all the layers, you can get hidden rewards and discover hidden secrets that may not be available to other people who play the game. I think that would be fantastic to go through, not just as a player, but honestly, I'm really looking forward to doing content creation on that, to talk about these different investigations and how they play out. I think just all the way around, it would be a great time. And so hopefully that's what we're going to get out of it, and hopefully we're going to get something Dark Heresy related this year. I don't know if that's the case. It could be that they're not even going to do early access until next year. Owlcat is being very tight-lipped about both this game and Osiris Reborn, but as soon as I get more information, you all already know, I will go ahead and share it. Anyway, that's the video. Appreciate all of you all. Hope you enjoyed it. If you want more Dark Heresy content, you already know, make sure you subscribe, hit that bell so you don't miss anything. And if you enjoyed this video, I would definitely appreciate you hitting that like button. More Dark Heresy and Rogue Trader content will be on the way, I am absolutely sure. Hope all of you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.